So here we are, episode number 3, of which you probably haven't seen any of these yet.
To be in the top 5, that's
you're in
awesome.
the top 5 podcasts here.
That's great.
And we are with graduate Cory. Now, is it Cory Myers still, or is it just Cory?
No, you know what? Myers is there, yes. I just don't use it because the show is called Damon and Cory, so why bother?
Right.
You know, it's just not significant enough.
Right. So you graduated in 1997.
Yep, around there.
So let's bring it back even before that. What makes you think that this is the career that you wanted? What was in your head? How long have you been thinking about it?
So I had a friend who heard about Connecticut School of Broadcasting, right? And they were like, oh, I'm thinking about going. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be a proactive human and friend. And I got all this information from you guys, got it mailed to him.
Right.
And he never did anything with it. And I had looked at it.
Right.
And so now I'm in college. I'm majoring in communications. Mm-hmm. I'm working full-time, but still full-time at a video store. Remember those?
Wow.
And part-time at a convenience store. And so every morning I wake up and I open up this store for the owner, and I've got the radio on with me.
Right.
And these 3 guys on the radio, well, I only remember 2 of them, but these 3 guys on the radio were laughing. They were having fun. They were talking about cool stuff. And I'm like, this beats selling donuts and newspapers to cops that are on their first shift. Nothing against their, first responders, but there was more for me there. And so I made the call. And it was great. The experience I had here was fantastic.
So you come in for a tour. Well, first off, we'll get to that in a second, because as the story develops, we'll go back to that friend of yours and see what they think of you now and if they wanted to kind of do that. But we'll wait on that. All right. So you end up coming to a studio tour.
Yeah.
You go through the motions, and then you start entering class. How was the class?
Classes were great. I was working a full-time job still, and at this point I had transitioned to a paint and wallpaper place, and I was doing like accounts receivable, payable. And then at night I would come to class. Yeah. And it was fantastic. I think for me, my eyes crossed whenever I got in front of a board.
Right.
And I will never forget, not that I can remember who said it to me, but one of the instructors said, a monkey can do this.
Really?
It's just an on-off button and an up-down pot.
Right.
It's not hard.
Your levels.
Right.
Yeah.
Get this down and then work on the important stuff.
Right.
And so that changed everything for me. And then I had one instructor who was insistent on 2 things. Number 1, kid, you got to go into news.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he said to me. And then he's like, how many 40-year-old female jocks you know? Well, I'm a little beyond that now, baby, just for the record. But I didn't want to do it. And he was insisting that I get rid of what he called regionalism.
Right.
My Waterbury, button in my 2 ends running together kind of thing. And I said coffee the wrong way. It made him crazy. And so I had fun, but I got to learn a lot too. I made some great friends, learned a lot from people in the business, which was fantastic.
Right.
And then finally figured out what I wanted to do. Because when you come here, you think you know, but you don't know.
Right.
Because now there's all this other stuff that opened up to you.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, I want to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
a lot of people, when they take the course, they kind of switch their minds halfway through, and they say, well, I want to be a jock when they first get here. And then all of a sudden they get a taste of video, and then they like that side of it.
Exactly.
So then you graduate. And then what was your first line? What did you do first? What was your first gig out? Traffic.
I worked for...
Was it literally up in the plane and flying around?
Twice.
Right.
So I got to replace a girl who had left.
Right.
To go to New York. And then 6 weeks in, she apparently decided she hated the job in New York.
Right.
And called them and wanted to come back. And they said, sure. So now I'm an extra body there. Mm-hmm. So during my training process of those 6 weeks, I got to go up in the plane twice, which was awesome. I was on the air 1 time in 6 weeks. And
so did you, when you're up in the air, are you calling into the station at that time?
You
and you're
have
basically
a CB. Back then it was a CB radio.
A CB radio.
And
you're just like,
and they had
and you're looking down and you're literally saying,
that's it.
I think it's going all the way back to exit 36.
Exactly. And then you had contact with the people back in the office.
Right.
And there was somebody back there calling state police barracks all around the state and giving updated information as well.
Wow.
And I was learning from the guy who was up in the plane who was brilliant at doing his job. job. I don't know if the world ever even remembers Jim Cooper, but he was the traffic reporter then. And so he and I are still friends till this day.
Did you go out of Hartford or did you go out of Tweed in New Haven?
No, out of Hartford. Out of Brainerd. Yep. And we did a couple of touch and goes at Bradley, which is where you bring the plane down, the wheels touch, and you pop right back up.
Right.
A couple of grass landings, which if you needed a good sports bra for those, trust me, let me say that. But yeah, we even flew over my mother's house and made her come outside and we waved to her.
Oh, wow.
And she saw...
That's kind of cool.
I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah. And what did you think of that experience? Were you on top of the world? And
I loved it until I got fired.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
Because I was an extra body.
Right.
And they didn't need me.
The lady came back from New York.
Right. And so I was like,
so what did you do then? Did you come back to the school or did you already start networking? And
I had already started networking.
Right.
So I went into the lobby of this building. It was in City Place at the time.
Right.
Stuck a quarter in the payphone because didn't have a cell and dialed up Star 104. And the program director over there, this guy, Steve, told him what happened. He said, come see me right now.
Yeah.
I literally drove from Hartford into Newington where they were based and walked out of there with a job.
Still?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
The POP building,
exactly.
Right?
Yes. And it's a church now, I think they've renovated it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I had a job already and it was that fast.
Yeah.
Not full time, just part time, but it was just another step in the direction.
Right. And so now you're at Star. Is that the 104?
Star 104, one. Yep. I was the promotions director. I wasn't even on air.
Right.
And then I was on air at WWCO in Waterbury, which was an oldies station.
Where you could have your accent. So,
right, and it was fine. It was okay. Playing my hits.
Yeah.
And then I worked part-time behind the scenes at TICFM.
Now, were you still at the VCR store or the
No,
the
that was
store?
way past. No, we're way gone from that.
Yeah.
Then I had 3 jobs, 3 different radio stations.
Wow.
I was working at. And that was way before, obviously, corporate took over.
Right.
And you couldn't do that anymore.
Right. So now, back then, is the technology still CDs and all that stuff?
Yes.
When do you join your current station? Okay,
so thanks to WWCO.
Yeah.
That was, I did afternoon drive full time, if you want to call it that.
Right.
The guy from Country 92.5 at the time, Dale Carter was the program director, called over to his friend who worked at CO, and it was like, hey, I'm looking for some part-timers. Do you have anybody?
Right.
And so this guy recommended me. And so I went in for an interview, and I said, I don't know anything about country. He goes, so do you like any of it? I said, I don't think so, no. And then he goes, well, do you?
I always wondered that.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all.
So what music format were you doing? You said the hits.
TICFM.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love oldies. I grew up on that. You know, my parents listened to, Elvis and Bobby Darin and, all of that.
Yeah.
And I get to play that, which was great. And you throw on Meatloaf when you had to go to the bathroom, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
And oddly enough, this is unbelievable to most people, but that radio station, WWCO, got caught up in a bit of a political scandal in Waterbury because of the owner's involvement, and they ended up losing the building they were in.
Wow.
And so when I started working there, that radio station was on the 2nd floor of the Red Bull Inn in Waterbury. I was working in a hotel or a motel room.
Wow.
There were...
It's kind of the way the school started. It was the Hotels America or something like that.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, mine is probably the ladies of the evening.
Right.
We're downstairs in the college parties that were going on and that kind of thing. My production room was a bathroom. Oh yeah.
Must have gotten some interesting sounds out of that.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
And then eventually we transitioned to a building that was like on the Watertown line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked in a hotel for probably
that whole
a year.
learn by doing experience just kept going because everything that's thrown at you. All right, we're going to go up on the plane. We're going to land on the grass. We're going to put you in a toilet. And, so, yeah.
Oh, and you want to talk about a trial by fire. My first air shift at WWCO was just supposed to be a weekend. Well, a blizzard moved in while I was on the air, and the overnight guy couldn't make it.
Oh, yeah?
So my first solo air shift ever was 10 hours long.
Wow.
And it was live radio.
Yeah.
There was no voice tracking.
Were you play-by-playing the snowstorm? All right, we have 3 inches now.
Yes, I kind of was. Yes. I was doing what I could. Yeah. And that's how you learn. That's the best way to learn, right?
So then you start to interview, and that becomes the station that becomes 92.5?
So yeah, I was part-time there, overnights on the weekend.
Right.
And then they quickly moved me up to doing a dance party, Saturdays 7 to midnight, which was awesome. And then I was on Sundays 10 to 3.
Wow.
So I got to do that. And then was still working full-time at TICFM on their morning show over there with Kelly and Klein. But that was really... to drive to Hartford every day. I was living in Naugatuck. That was kind of a commute.
Yeah.
And they really didn't want to pay me that well. So
where was 92.5 at that time? Waterbury.
Yes.
Wow.
In the WATR building.
Okay. Yeah.
So that wasn't so bad.
Right.
And then when I finally went full-time at Country 92.5, they moved to Hartford. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. So eventually I moved closer. So, but now I've been there full-time and part-time 26 years.
Wow.
I know.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah. And you're doing such a great job over there. I mean, everything that's going on and all that stuff. I mean, so now you've gone from working in, doing production in a bathroom. They moved to Hartford.
Right.
When did you get the morning show gig?
Right away.
Yeah.
I got brought back full time. I had left for a year. TIC was getting taken over. That's when corporate radio was coming in. And so TIC was getting bought out. And my program director called me in and said, listen, captain of the ship here, I'll go down with it, but I'm telling you to jump.
Yeah.
And so I did. And for 10 months, I was at 95 XXX in Burlington, Vermont.
Wow.
Which I thought would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Burlington. It's got to be, so she. I'm going to get a condo on a Lake Champlain, which I did. It is cold 11 months out of the year.
Right.
There's snow and ice.
It's Vermont.
I'm not sure what I was thinking.
The hills are alive.
Right.
In
Closer
Vermont.
to Canada than I am Connecticut.
Yeah.
Not really my bag.
Right.
So 10 months I came screaming back home, and I did again less than a year at CCC.
You were at CCC too?
I was. I did nights.
Now, was that at Sisson or was that on the Asylum?
No, Sisson Avenue.
Sisson,
yeah. So the one time I decided I wanted to have a Diet Coke, and I walked down to the pizza place on the corner. I got yelled at. What are you doing? It's not the neighborhood you need to be walking in. I was like, okay, I didn't know. But yeah, I did 7 to midnight, and I got to host an Anthrax show, have pizza on their bus with them and beer, talk to Ozzy Osbourne. No, I asked him questions. He answered me, I think. I don't know what he said.
Right.
Even back then,
I would try and do the imitation, but
don't.
I just can't. I can't.
No, I even had Stephen Wayne in with me, who was a huge Ozzy fan. He was sitting right there, and Ozzy would answer a question, and I'd look at Stephen, and he'd go... I go, well, if you don't know, how am I going to know? I got to interview.
He does a good imitation.
Of course he does. I got to interview Skinner. I mean, we had some good times.
Was that the first time that you started meeting celebrities and talking to celebrities, or were you doing that also at TIC and before?
At TIC, I had done a little bit of it.
Right.
I didn't, just because I was like the female on the morning show there. Right. So they had sent me to cover a few different things. I had been to the Grammy Awards out in LA.
Wow.
And here are...
So what did you do at the Grammys?
Okay, so we're red carpet. Well, like a red carpet, but also like the radio room, like where they bring people by and you interview everybody. So our plane gets delayed because of a blizzard. And so we're stuck in Chicago for an extra...
Not the same blizzard that you started.
Not the same blizzard. Right? 5.5 hours in Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we finally get out to LA at 10 o'clock at night when we're supposed to get in at 2.
You're on a plane and here you are, Cory. You know,
nobody cared.
Yeah. and flying out to the Grammys. I mean,
was just tired.
Yeah.
I was tired and I just wanted to go to bed because it was the longest day of my life. And we get in an elevator. And then somebody sticks their hand in the door to get in with us at the hotel.
Right.
It's this homeless dude, hair in a hat, water bottle in his hand. He just looks gross. And then all of a sudden, all of these foreign people came in. Now we're all in the elevator like this. And the homeless dude says to these people, "Where are you guys from?" And they're like, "Indonesia."
Right.
And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I've been there." And he goes, "I've been to Borneo." And I'm rolling my eyes like, dear God, just get me out of this elevator. So some of them get off on one floor. And then there's still some left. And so we're still riding. And he goes, "Are you all from Indonesia?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Great, we'll have fun." Doors open. The rest of them get out. Now it's just the 3 of us. Right. Me, the girl I'm traveling with, and this guy. And so she goes... God love her, Jennifer. "We're not from Indonesia." And I looked at her and I'm like, "Really? We got to talk to the homeless dude?" He goes, "I figured. Where are you from?" And she's like, "Hartford, Connecticut." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been there." I'm like thinking to myself, of course you have world traveler. I wonder how that worked out. He gets out on a floor. He goes, "Have a good night." Doors closed. It's just her and I. "Do you know who that was?" I have no idea who that was. She goes, "It was Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers." I was like,
Really?
I'm just really tired and I want to go to bed.
All right. So you interview and you start at 92.5 and then pretty much right away you get the morning show gig.
Yeah, just about about say a year and a half later, they were looking for a producer, and I had done producing stuff over at TICFM, so they knew I had the experience.
Right.
And they're like, "We want you to come in and do that." I said, "Great." And unfortunately, at that time, the morning guy was totally good with me. He loved what I did. He loved my banter that I had with him. And I got along great with the newswoman that was, there, and the midday girl. Things were good. The program director there, however, for some reason, and the owner of the radio station, still privately owned, did not want me on the air.
Right.
And they were very adamant about that.
Well, he was probably the instructor here that said you're never going to be.
It wasn't. Right. No, it wasn't. But that guy did work in the building. He worked at WATR. Yes, he did.
All right. I think it's getting narrowed down to who I think it is.
God love him. I loved him too. He was sweet. So I didn't go on the air. And so one day we get all taken out to dinner by a consultant.
Yeah.
She comes into town. And we all have dinner and we laugh and things are fun and great. And then the next day we have a meeting after the morning show, and she looks at everybody and goes, "How come I don't hear her on the air?" Mm-hmm. And I just went and waited for an answer.
Yeah.
And they're nobody knew what to say. Yeah, they're all backtracking. And even I knew the news girl is sitting there going, "Yes." And so she goes, "I want to hear her on the air."
Yeah.
She's younger. She brings something to the show. She's funny. I mean, we all had a great time at dinner and we were laughing. So I want to hear her on the air. And so they were kind of forced to let me be on the air.
Wow.
And the rest is history, I guess they say. Although I've been through how many morning guys now? 8.
So, and you didn't do mornings anywhere else, though. This is your first
TICFM.
Yeah, okay.
I was on the morning show there with Kelly and Klein.
Okay.
Part-time.
Yeah, but were you more producing at that station or also adding vocal?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, because back then it was like the girl does the gossip stuff, the entertainment report. I refused to be a giggle factory. That was not going to happen.
Right.
I've obviously not any kind of wallflower for sure. But I did the producing. I lined up the interviews. I mean, we had people in studio that, I had to go get breakfast, or I would do some bit where they'd make me go buy Playboy magazine, typical top 40 stuff. And I got through all that fine. And then, did the MTV Video Awards a couple times. So again, interviewed people. Yeah, they're like Carrot Top and Ben Stiller. And,
so you never got the struck by the stardom part of it. You just treated everybody like, they're everyday people, homeless in the elevator, whatever the case might be. Yeah.
I didn't care. There's only a few people I've ever really been like starstruck. I fangirl hard over, this is ridiculous. You're going to laugh at me when I tell you this. Other radio people.
Right.
So I was in a room, not even didn't speak to, didn't get introduced to Rick Dees.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Disco Duck Rick Dees?
Yes,
all right,
I was having a heart attack because I hate to say this, grew up listening to his countdown show, and nowadays I still kind of do the same thing. I love sports radio, sports talk radio.
Okay.
And I totally fangirled Mike Golick and Mike Golick Jr., both of them. They probably have restraining orders on me. Like, I really love what you do. I think you're awesome. I did it to Colin Cowherd when I met him in Trader Joe's. It's bad. But I don't really do it to celebrities.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't.
Well, I guess they must also appreciate it, and everybody that I know that works in radio treats celebrities like they're everyday people, and they don't go above and beyond on their enthusiasms and things. And I think that's kind of cool, and it's the way they should be treated, and especially when you're having a conversation with them.
Exactly.
So what's your number one, what's your biggest memory, your best memory of the career so far?
Holy moly.
If there's one thing that kind of stands out and you quickly go back to, or any bad ones, if you think of those first while you're thinking of the good one.
I can tell you, the one that sticks out the most to me is probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We were the station was like in between program directors. We had an operations manager who was overseeing things. But being the music director of the radio station, you basically get paid, I'm not kidding you, to go to every show, go backstage, and hang out with every country artist that comes to town.
Right.
And country is different than any other format. They actually care that you're there or you're not there.
Right.
You know, I always feel obligated to send a message to let them know why I'm not there. One time I was at a charity event. I made sure I took pictures and sent them to their people so they know I'm not there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing something important. I'm sorry I missed you. But this one time we get to a concert, go backstage, say hey to the artist, and the label rep says, hey, by the way, there's some gifts we have for you. I'm like, okay, great. And they give us these headphones.
Wow.
And they're like, we're going to watch the show side stage, but you know, there's that weird sound problem. You won't hear very well. So wear the headphones and we're going to give you the box to plug into. I'm like, okay. So I'm falling for this hook, line, and sinker, right? We're standing on the side of the stage, watching the show. The artist is out there singing. He turns around, looks at the group of 4 of us and points and goes,
oh no.
And here's me. Who's here? I can't wait to see who's here. And it was us.
Yeah.
He wanted us on stage. It was Tim McGraw.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he took us out on, like right in the center of the stage.
Did you have to take off the headphones?
No.
Oh, so okay. So those were your monitors.
We could hear him.
Right. Okay.
And singing and talking to us. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were totally portable and you could go out there and hear everything.
Had no idea that he was
Yeah.
doing it though. And he made us all,
Now,
he
did you
hugged
have to
us
sing?
all. And yes.
Yes?
He made us sing. I like it. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
have you, I know you have kids and things, and have they been a part of any of these experiences?
Oh, yeah.
Do they think you're like the big celebrity mom? And
a little, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, my son and my daughter pretty much grew up backstage. That's how they
Right.
think you should see a concert. And I'm married to a man now who has 3 sons, and we're, you know, a family of 7. So there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But Carter and Gianna, my 2, again, grew up backstage, so they don't know how to see a show any different. They expect to be on everybody's bus.
Yeah.
So they've hung out with Florida Georgia Line. They hung out with Kiss.
Wow.
So we're on the bus, and it was like a hospitality bus backstage at the Kiss show.
See, your kids did it better than me. See, I was the kid of, you know, somebody like you.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, Dick Robinson.
Right, of course.
But I was hanging out with Cher and, you know, the 4 Seasons.
Right.
You're talking about Kiss.
Kiss. So we're on the bus, and I was talking to Doc McGee, right, their manager.
Right.
He had just started managing Darius Rucker.
Oh, wow.
And a group called 1,000 Horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was playing me some of their music. And we're talking, and my daughter, here she is with her little poofy hair and the Harley jacket and this foo-foo skirt, and she's like this.
Wow.
Standing there staring at a guy who's sitting on a couch with a laptop talking to another guy. And finally, the guy looks up and she goes, I know you're one of the Kiss guys. And I'm like, oh my God. So he goes, is that right? So he gets up, he folds the laptop up. He goes, then I guess I'll see you in a little while. And she goes, you gonna go put your makeup on? You're gonna be late. Like, oh my God. It was Tommy.
Kids say the darnest things.
It was
Isn't there a
Tommy
show
Thayer.
about that? Yeah.
It was the guitarist for Kiss.
Oh, wow.
So sure enough, we get in the meet and greet, and he goes, and she's like, she knew. She called him out on it. So I thought we'd never.
Do they want to follow in your footsteps, or
I don't know.
are we going to have any second generation CSBers coming through? Or?
Possibly. You know what? That's a possibility. She loves her microphone. She is one. They kind of all have a little ham in them. Not
Right.
going to lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're good too, because I'm going to tell you, the cool part about this job, I found out right away, is not Kiss, is not Anthony Kiedis, is not any of that hocus pocus.
Right.
It's the power of this
Right.
here,
Yep.
and the good you can do with it.
I know you do a lot of charity work.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's more important to me than anything.
Right.
And so I'm very, very glad that they've got to, be a part of that as well. And they can see that, and they'll come home and say, Mommy, we want to be a part of the St. Jude Radiothon. We want to go on and talk about the phone number, or talk about Colin, the kid we met. And they were running in the hallways with one kid that had cancer and was in a special wheelchair.
Right.
They're not afraid of any of that.
Right.
And so I'm glad they want to do all that stuff.
And that's what it's all about too. I mean, and that's, the reward of it all. And I love that side of it too. I don't do this side. I'm not an on-air guy,
Right.
I do the production side. So going out and doing the charity events and doing the video for it and sound design and stuff like that. That's what I love doing myself.
Right.
So what about somebody who's up and coming? What do you say to them? Somebody who might be wanting to think about the school and all the future possibilities that are out there these days. I know radio's changed and now there's podcasting and content is everywhere. What would you say to somebody who's coming up the ranks and wanting to think about this as a career?
Yeah, the world is your frequency. I mean, run with it. You don't know what you're going to find here until you get here. Again, I thought it was all going to be about playing top 40 music and meeting celebrities and I don't know, just playing music and laughing. And there's so much more. There's creativity. There's being able to touch people you don't even know until somebody comes and tells you, something like, we got a Facebook message last week from somebody who, my partner, Damon Scott, and he and I have been friends for 30 years, by the way. I started out as his intern 30 years ago.
Wow.
And we've been friends that whole time, and now we're partners. So it's like listening to two old friends every morning. He went on the air last week, and he said, "Thanks for being with us. We're glad you could be here." And then, Country 92.5, whatever, and moved on. There was a person that heard that. And that person was questioning whether they were still going to maintain their life here on this planet. Oh. And from what we understand, that person then decided they were going to stay.
Wow.
From that one line. Yeah. Like, you don't know the power that is behind this microphone and the creativity and the people you can reach and touch in such a positive way. Until you get here and you learn all these things.
Right. Wow. That's a great ending and great story. And I thank you for being with us
today.
Thanks
for having me.
And thank you, for calling, the school and thinking about us and our students for future possibilities, whether it was the stuff with sports or the stuff, at the station and stuff like that. And thank you.
Absolutely. Always. Right. You guys are the biggest part of my life and you always will be. So you and Dad are stuck with me.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.